children. I'm Ben Brooks, and I am a disciple of Jesus Christ. And these episodes are brought to everybody on the face of the earth, and especially parents, so they can teach their children how to get to heaven when they die. And if they don't know, they can do themselves some good too. Because what's happening, we ain't got any teachers nowadays that's teaching people, except for me, Ben Brooks, and I'm a disciple of Jesus Christ. There ain't nobody teaching people exactly what Jesus said. This episode I got for today is going to be very lengthy because I'm going to take the time to explain the information that's in this episode. I'm going to read it first so you'll know where I'm coming from. Then I'm going to go back and pick up all of the scriptures that everybody needs to understand this episode. And the reason you need to understand it is because of what those disciples were doing behind Jesus' back when he was leading them and teaching them back when he was walking on the face of this earth. You see, every word he spoke from the time he started until he left here, those people were taking it and they were using it right then and right there. Thousands of people were listening and they were already using what Jesus said. So his words started instantly when he started talking. And every word he said had a revelation behind it. And every word he said meant something. He wasn't down here just for the fun of it. It was very expensive for him to get down here. And this is episode 55. And what happened is so much that goes with these episodes until I gave them a different part. Now this is part 5 of the subject of converted. Because what's happening is, before I quit with this converted, I want to have you to understand exactly what Jesus was having to put up with them 12 disciples that he had named apostles. Because what he found out was they were arguing among themselves about certain things. And he had to take the time to stop. He had to completely stop and explain to them exactly the way it's supposed to be. And what we're reading here in this New Testament about Jesus' teaching, and we're going to pick it up today in Matthew 23, and it's going to be verses 1 through 14. But before I do that, like I say, I'm gonna slow way down, and I'm going to take all the time that I need, because all I want to do is get you to understanding what Jesus said and exactly what it takes for you to get to heaven. Now, what you may not understand is the reason Jesus was doing this, because if them disciples didn't understand what they was saying and what they was doing, they was getting themselves in trouble too. And in order to get to heaven, you got to meet Christ's qualification. That's the way it is. Now, and he had run upon this problem, and this is what started these episodes about converting. And the Lord said, Simon, we're talking about right now Luke 22, verse 31 and 32. Luke 22, verse 31 and 32. And the Lord said, Simon, Simon, behold, Satan had desired to have you, that he may sift you as wheat. Now, maybe everybody don't understand this, and that's why I want you to take your own good time and look at it. Because as long as Satan is operating your life, it ain't no way you're going to get to heaven. That's just all it is to you. You got to get rid of Satan. That was verse 31. Let me read verse 32. what Jesus said now, I have prayed for thee, that thy faith faileth not, and when thou art converted, strengthen thy brother. Now listen, Jesus had 11 brethren there, because they were disciples and apostles, just exactly like he was. And the honest way the apostle Peter could strengthen them, he had to know everything that Christ wanted him to know and be able to use it wherever it was necessary. And that's why he said, when thou art converted, then strengthen them. You see, the apostles were coming in contact with different people every day of their life. And I'm going to read a whole lot of these scriptures to you. I'm going to try to mind I get all of them if I can. You see, those people were looking to those apostles for guidance on how to get to heaven. They were asking them all types of questions. Now, after he was 100% converted, he could answer any and every question. But there's something you're going to have to notice about what the Apostle Peter and all of the rest of the apostles done. When Jesus got through teaching them, they were together. They were all together on one accord. They all had the same understanding about getting to heaven and living a disciple's life until they get to heaven. They all had the same understanding. Now, I'm going to have to take a little time, and I'm going to take all the time I need, because this is for everybody's benefit on the face of the earth. And I'm going to ask everyone that's listening, teach this to your kids, your friends, your neighbors, and everybody. Get them over and turn it on and let them look at it and write down some scriptures. Now, back to the beginning of every episode. You see, when I started this way back in 18, I started at the beginning, Deuteronomy, the 6th chapter. And then I come up with Proverbs 22 and 6. You see, I believe in giving people exactly what God ordered. Anytime you get anything from Ben Brooks, it's going to come straight from God. Now you can rest assured of that. I ain't going to be talking about something besides some man that wasn't nothing but a blasphemer and making all kind of false statements to get people to follow them. I don't go that route. I don't speak now word of it. I don't go that route. When I teach something, it came straight from God himself. And God is Jesus Christ. Proverbs 22 and 6, this is where I start. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. Now, this episode I'm fixing to give today, I want you to follow it to the very letter, Proverbs 22 and 6. And then I want you to go back and read Deuteronomy, the 6th chapter 2. Start at 1 and go through 9. Because it goes right along with what I'm teaching here. Even though I'm not going to read it, I ain't got that much time. What I want you to teach them today is what's written in the book of Matthew, the 23rd chapter, 14 verses now, 1 through 14. That's what we got for today. Now, Matthew 23 and 1. And I'm going to give you a real good hint as to where I'm going with these episodes right now. Because in the first place, I ain't teaching you nothing new. I ain't teaching anyone anything new. These Bibles I got was written, way back in 14th or 15th century, somewhere back in there. The translation, that is. They're here. All I'm doing is getting enough of books to read to where I can make the sense. And if you can't make the sense, you ain't getting your job done. And that's what I want to give you a part of today. Now, Matthew 23:1. Then spoke Jesus unto the multitude and unto his disciples, saying, the scribes and Pharisees sat in Moses' seat. And all therefore whatsoever they bid you observe, observe and do, but do not ye after their works, for they say and do not. Now, episode 55, and it's also part 5 of Converted. The reason that's there like that is because you can't be converted completely unless you know all of this stuff. You have to know it for yourself. Now listen to this one more time. Then spoke Jesus to the multitude and to his disciples, saying, the scribes and Pharisees sat in Moses' seat. All therefore whatsoever they bid you observe, observe and do, but do not after their works, for they say and do not. Now, I want to stop right there for a little bit. Listen. What I'm going to do from the second verse, saying the scribes and Pharisees sat in Moses' seat. Do y'all understand that? The scribes and the Pharisees. Do y'all know what a scribe is? Do you know what a Pharisee is? I'm fixing to give you a hint about where I'm going with these episodes. So just hold what you got and let me get my Bible in my hand, because what I'm gonna do I'm going to read you something, and I'm going to reread it too. That's what's fixing to happen. I'm fixing to read you from the book of Nehemiah, the 8th chapter, and the 4th verse. Now, it goes all the way to 8, and I may not get there today. I may do, but because I'm going to give you a hint today as to what I'm fixing to teach you. And I ain't going to read all the scriptures, I'm only going to read some of them. And Ezra, listen now what it's saying. Ezra the scribe stood upon a pulpit of wood which they had made for the purpose, and beside him stood Mattathiah. Anyway, it was 5 or 6 people stood with him. There was a lot of more people there standing with him, on the right hand and on the left hand. Okay, I'll get around to reading all of them later. Now on verse 8 and 5, and Ezra opened the book, in the sight of all the people, for he was above all the people. And when he had opened it, all the people stood up. And Ezra blessed the Lord, the great God, and all the people answered, Amen, Amen, with lifting up their hand, and they bowed their heads and worshiped the Lord with their face toward the ground. And Joshua and anyway, verse 8. So when they had read in the book of the law of God distinctively, and gave the sense and caused them to understand the reading. That's what I'm trying to get around to you. Back in them days, they read from the book of the law that God had gave Moses, and they made the sense to go with it. Now that's what I'm getting around. Now I'm going to go back and read all of this, every bit of it, and because see what's happening here. I'm going to read every bit of this. What's going with this book in Nehemiah 8:4 is if you ain't reading what God said, and if you're teaching a lot of people and you ain't got nobody there to make the sense, you still ain't getting nowhere. And that's where I'm coming from today. You got to make the sense. You got to read it where they can understand it, and you got to have enough of people there with enough of knowledge to be sure that they understand it. Okay, let me go back over what I done read. Then spoke Jesus unto the multitude and to his disciples, saying, the scribes and Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. All therefore whatsoever they bid you observe and do, but do not after their works, for they say and do not. So now what's happening here now? We're talking about works. People have works to do. Everybody have work to do. Now, you may not understand it, and y'all may not yet. I have already ran this by you once upon a time, but it's been a long time ago. Some people might forget. But everybody on the face of this earth, everybody that's ever born on the face of this earth, it is mandatory that they work the work of God. If you want to get to heaven when you die, the one thing you got to do from the time you breathe your first breath till you take your last one, you got to work the work of God. There ain't no way out of it. Now I'm going to have to read you them scriptures, but I'm going to have to get back round to it. Verse 4, for they bind heavy burdens and grievous to be borne, and lay them on men's shoulders, but they themselves will not move them with one of their fingers. But all their works, listen to what Jesus is saying about these people now. And we're going to come back and pick it all up, because I ain't going to leave you without understanding what's going on here. But all their works they do for to be seen of men, they make broad their phylacteries and enlarge the border of their garment. You see, now what I'm going to have to do, this is in verse 5, I'm going to have to go back and read you exactly what these phylacteries is, and the purpose of them, and how you're supposed to use them. Because when God issues a commandment, there's a law that goes with every commandment God issued. Now, and if you break one of those commandments, the law takes over. Now, in Jesus' days, they was wearing this little phylacteries, what they call it. I'm going to read to you exactly what it is, so you'll understand what's going on here. It's nothing but a little purse that they wore on the left side, or they put a band around their head, or they tied around the band on their hand, however they wanted to do it. But that little box or purse or whatever you want to call it had some of the laws of God in it. It had some of the laws of God in it. Now, I'm going to read to you next time I come back exactly what this is in verse 5. They make broad their phylacteries and enlarge the body of their garment, and love the utmost room in the feast, and the chief seat in the synagogue, and greetings in the marketplace, and to be called of man Rabbi, Rabbi, but be not ye called Rabbi, for one is your master, even Christ, and all ye are brethren. Now that's where I'm going to stop at today. I done already hit on that a little bit, and I want to have to come back to it a whole lot more. Be not ye called Rabbi. You see, you go to church now, you running up, and every time you look around, they telling you what they is. I'm bishop this, and pastor this, and deacon that, and missionary this. And they got all of these different names in every one of these churches. Jesus said you don't go around calling people them names. Every last one of y'all is brother. It's supposed to be brother this and sister that. That's what it's supposed to be. And that's what I'm going to give you. Now, I can't go too long with these things because time won't permit. But what I'm going to do, I ain't going to quit with this episode 55 until you understand everything that's written in here. I already got it written down, but I ain't got time to get it all over to you. Now, that's going to be all for today. I am a disciple of Jesus Christ. I'm Ben Brooks, and I'm in Hobbs, New Mexico. So I'm asking everyone, check out every one of these scriptures and every bit of this stuff for yourself. Because let me tell you something, every bit of this is extremely, extremely important. And I'm making it as plain as I can because I don't want you to miss heaven when you die. That's all there is to it. You see, it takes a whole lot of study. It takes a whole lot of books. I've got them. All you have to do is go to a bookstore, and you can buy your book just exactly like I've got, and get you several different translations of the Bible, just like I've got, and then you can keep right up with me. And hopefully you'll start your own episodes and start teaching people exactly what Jesus said. Now listen, the reason Jesus was teaching them disciples and apostles and all them people as much as he told them, so they would stay within his word. Because the devil was standing around the corner looking, and as soon as he got a chance, he started butting in. And let me tell you something, he butted in big time. Because the devil, for some reason or another, well, I know what it is, he don't want nobody to get back to heaven. He tried to find fault every way he could in Jesus Christ, but he couldn't. And you see, Jesus stopped him right in his track. Because Jesus purchased all the sin because he was qualified. That's what happened. Jesus purchased all the sin, so you ain't got to ask forgiveness to nobody but Jesus. And Jesus Christ changed a whole lot of things when he came on the scene. After he came on the scene and started teaching and preaching and all of that, then everything was switched from the way it was over to the way it is right now, what Jesus taught us. That's it for today. I'm Ben Brooks. I'm a disciple of Jesus Christ, and I will see you on the next episode.